Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Okay, the title of my presentation is Regulatory Review Process for the Type 2 Secondary DMFs. In this presentation, I'm going to discuss the risk-based regulatory review process for the acceptance of Type 2 secondary DMFs, for the adequacy of Type 2 primary DMF, supporting and applications, and also some regulatory aspects associated with secondary DMFs. As we know, many Type 2 drug master files refer to a secondary Type 2 DMF in support of their submissions. So in the presentation, first I'm going to talk about what are secondary DMFs and how do they impact the review of primary DMFs. The secondary DMFs could be a starting materials, intermediate, or an API itself for the primary DMF. Hence, the scope and role of secondary DMF is a significant factor in evaluating their acceptance for a primary DMF. I'm going to go through a few case studies with the different scopes and roles of secondary DMFs and the risk-based review approach in their evaluation. At the end, I'm going to touch on few regulatory aspects of secondary DMFs. Okay, what are the secondary DMFs? Secondary DMFs are DMFs referenced by a primary DMF for the process of its final drug substance synthesis. As I said before, a secondary DMF could be for a starting material, intermediate, or an API itself. Also, there could be more than one secondary DMF associated with a primary DMF. It is important to note that when there is a secondary DMF or DMFs associated with a primary DMF, the manufacturing process of the primary DMF drug substance is evaluated based on the information presented in all the DMFs, that is primary and secondary DMFs, including facilities. Also, assessment of control of process impurities in the primary DMF drug substance is based on the overall control strategy of impurities presented in both primary and secondary DMFs as well. If the secondary DMF is referenced for a starting material, it should be justified based on ICH Q11 guidance. Also, all the manufacturing facilities of the secondary DMF, starting from the regulatory starting material, require CGMP compliant for ICH Q7. I think in this hypothetical example, I'm going to illustrate how we assess primary DMF manufacturing process when there are secondary DMFs are associated with it. In this example, primary DMF1 for the synthesis of its final drug substance API salt, that is E, refers to a secondary DMF, that's intermediate D, which itself is an API base. The secondary DMF refers to another secondary DMF3 for its intermediate C. So in this overall manufacturing process, the regulatory starting material for the manufacturing process of the final drug substance E in primary DMF1 are A and B from the secondary DMF3. Also, the manufacturing process presented in secondary DMFs 2 and 3 also considered part of manufacturing process of final drug substance E. As you look at here, the manufacturing facility of intermediate D in secondary DMF, which is nothing but an API, it's in a base, is also considered as the API manufacturing facility. Also, it is important to note that all the manufacturing and intermediate facilities should have sufficient information provided by the applicant for FDA inspection. In this slide, I would like to show some examples where the primary DMF refers to secondary DMFs, pretty much, which is nothing but an API. So, for example, a pure API primary DMF can refer to a secondary DMF, which is an crude API. A primary DMF, which has an API salt, can be referred to the corresponding base or acid salts in a secondary DMF. And we do also see some examples where salt exchange takes place between a secondary DMF and a primary DMF. A sterile API or primary DMF can refer to non-sterile API. And also, when we have mixture of two APIs in a primary DMF, many instances they refer to a single API secondary DMFs, which are nothing but an APIs. And we also have some examples where the change in physical form we do see from secondary DMF to a primary DMF. Like a secondary DMF could be an API anhydrous, and they take that material and make a monohydrate, or like a monohydrate to pentahydrate, like that. We do have examples, such examples. Also, enantiomerically pure API can refer to racemic API. And we do have some API premixes where in most cases the secondary API comes from the secondary DMF. Okay, according to the, here I would like to point one thing: when there are secondary DMFs are associated with a primary DMF, according to the GDF DMF completeness assessment checklist, subject of the DMF is a single drug substance produced by one manufacturing process. So, when there are multiple secondary DMFs associated with a primary DMF, we recommend primary DMF holder to make sure overall manufacturing process is similar in both the DMFs. That is, the synthetic scheme and regulatory starting material should be similar in the both secondary DMF2 and secondary DMF3 referred by in a primary DMF1. Okay, in the next few slides, I'm going to go through a few case studies based on the role of the secondary DMF. If the secondary DMF is referenced as a starting material, it should be justified based on ICHQ11 guidance for the process of the primary DMF drug substance. If the agency does not accept secondary DMF as a starting material, the primary DMF holder may be asked to redesignate the starting material for its process. If the agency accepts secondary DMF as a starting material, so then the formal review of the secondary DMF may not be required. Again, the extent of the review of the secondary DMF is based on what is presented in the primary DMF. If most of the information is already present in the primary DMF, we may not look at the secondary DMF, but if the information is not there in the primary DMF, we do look at the secondary DMF. And also during the review, when we conduct the review, we want to make sure all the information in the secondary DMF as a starting material for this manufacturing process, whether it is present or not. Okay, if the secondary DMF is an intermediate, many of the quality sections, I would say, in the DMF will be critically evaluated during the review, including CGMP and facilities. Some sections of the DM may not be very critical as an intermediate. Again, it is the primary DMF holder responsibility to ensure proper control of all potential process impurities in the API, either in the secondary DMF or primary DMF. So when we evaluate the secondary DMF as an intermediate, so certain like ICH-Q3A, ICH-M7 may not be applicable. So it is the primary DMF holder responsibility, the control strategy of overall impurities in the manufacturing process. If the impurity is controlled in the upstream process in secondary DMF are higher than ICH-Q3A with no downstream control in primary DMF, supportive information such as spike per study and batch data as applicable should be presented either in the secondary DMF or in the primary DMF as an overall control strategy to demonstrate their absence in the final API. Again, the same applies to the genotoxic impurities for ICH-M7 as well. Okay, this is an interesting example. So if the secondary DMF is itself a drug substances, so there could be two scenarios when the secondary DMF itself a drug substance. The evaluation of the secondary DMF is based on how the material is referenced. In majority of cases, the secondary DMF is also referenced by ANDA applicants. In this scenario, the secondary DMF is reviewed as a regular drug substance because it's already referenced by another ANDA applicant and it is itself a drug substance. But if the secondary DMF, even though it is a drug substance, it is referenced by only primary DMF holder as an intermediate and is not referenced by any ANDA application, then the secondary DMF is reviewed by as an intermediate for the adequacy of referencing primary DMF. Again, it is the primary DMF holder responsibility to ensure proper control of all potential process impurities for ICH-Q3A and ICH-M7. Here I would like to emphasize for the secondary DMF holders that in future, if they want to reference their DMF directly to another ANDA applicant as an drug substance, then we need to evaluate the adequacy of this DMF for the newly referencing application. We have several cases where more than 2 or 3 secondary DMFs are associated with a primary DMF. In fact, we do have few examples where more than 5 secondary DMFs are associated with a primary DMF. So, presence of secondary DMFs pose a significant impact on review timelines, especially with a chain of secondary DMFs are associated. Applicant may want to be aware of associated secondary DMFs due to its consequences, which I will be touching on in the regulatory aspects. Okay, let's look at the regulatory aspects associated with secondary DMF. Secondary DMFs have to be adequate for the adequacy of primary DMF. Secondary DMF's inadequacy usually triggers a CR letter for primary DMF, basically informing the primary DMF holder that the quality review of your primary DMF cannot be completed until all DMF deficiencies, including those in secondary DMF, are adequately resolved. And this most importantly, secondary DMFs are reviewed with same timeline as primary DMF, guided by the same target date. Hence, solicited and unsolicited amendments to the secondary DMF are treated the same as primary DMF and will have the same implications and consequences to the goal date extensions. For example, if the secondary DMF holder submits a late unsolicited or then we may need to extend the goal date. So it doesn't have to be the primary DMF. So primary DMF holder needs to make sure there should not be any unsolicited amendments submitted to the secondary DMFs. If we receive then we may need to extend the goal date. During the DMF completeness assessment, the following will be checked. Whether the primary DMF contains a letter of authorization for any DMFs reference to the support the DMF, and also we do check all DMFs referenced have been filed with the agency and are active. As Deborah indicated, letter of authorization from the secondary DMF holder should be provided in section 1.4. Also, the material sourced from the secondary DMF should be clearly mentioned in appropriate sections of the DMF. Erin pointed out, again, there are some places where the association of secondary DMF should be documented, like Form 3938, and also cover letter. Another place is 32ST1, because this is very important for us to look at the facilities involved in the manufacturing process of the drug substance. Because late identification of secondary DMFs association due to lack of information, appropriate sections of the DMF and LOA may lead to delay in review timelines and issuance of IR letters. Also, if the designation of the material sourced from the secondary DMF as starting material is not appropriate for ICH Q11, it may lead to inadequate major deficiency, which has a longer good for goal date. So when a primary DMF holder references a secondary DMF, maybe the secondary DMF may be nothing but an API, but the secondary DMF holder, what is the manufacturing process for the secondary DMF holder? If that is not appropriate in the secondary DMF, so we may need to push them to further redesignate the starting material. That leads to delay in the approvals. Okay, for the material sourced from the secondary DMF, the facility information and CGMP statement may be listed or referred to the secondary DMF in section 32S21. That is the way we look at the facilities associated with the manufacturing process of the drug substance. Having the correct facility information early in the application is critical for timely evaluation of secondary DMF facilities as needed, as Deborah, Erin indicated in their presentations. As well, again, the late cycle facility evaluation can delay the approvals. According to the FDA draft guidance, drug master files, so I just picked a phrase from this guidance. A primary DMF can incorporate information in a secondary DMF by reference. The secondary DMF folder can submit an LOA authorizing either the primary DMF folder or the product applicant to reference the secondary DMF. As stated in the guidance, I would like to emphasize that where possible, consistent with confidentiality agreements, secondary DMF folders are encouraged to submit LOA authorizing drug product applicants to reference the secondary DMF directly. That way we don't miss the appropriate facilities needed for the evaluation. I would like to thank Motang and Deborah for their feedback on the slides. And also I would like to thank Unit 9 team members for their support. Thank you for listening.